All right, here is hopefully the last screencast for Chapter 9, Memory. And here we go. So forgetting can result from failure to retrieve information from long-term memory. So what we're talking about now is, okay, we got everything in. Now we're trying to get it back out. Now we're trying to recall information that's been stored in the brain for a long period of time. And you can see here with the block here is on the retrieval out. So we have some theories here. Memories interfering with memories is basically what we're talking about with interference theories. Caused by one memory competing with or replacing another memory. Forgetting not caused by mere passage of time. So in other words, we're not talking about something that I've been attached to for a while and I can't remember because I haven't thought of this person's name in 25 years. That's not what we're talking about. Two types of interference. Retroactive and proactive. And I put this little chart here to hopefully help it stick out in your mind. There's only two types of interference. Here are the definitions. Proactive, forward-acting interference. This is disruptive effect of prior learning on recall of new information. So prior learning, proactive, prior learning, new information. Retroactive or backwards-acting interference is disruptive effect of new learning on the recall of old information. So when you bring in something new, it's going to mess up the old stuff. And here's the best example is in the book. It's the easiest thing to go with. All right, here you have someone who is studying. This is why it's kind of hard to learn two languages at the same time that are that close together, like French and Spanish as far as similarity. So this girl is studying for both a Spanish and a French midterm. When she studies for the Spanish midterm, she studies her French first and then her Spanish second. So the French learned beforehand would be interfering proactively with the information that she's trying to put down on her Spanish midterm. So French was first, Spanish second, so that would be proactive interference. All right, the bottom part of this diagram, she's learning again. She's preparing for her French exam, but again she does her French is first and her Spanish is second. Okay, same order. So we're talking about the same time period. We're not really talking, these aren't two separate incidences. It's the same studying period. And when she goes to take her French exam, this time her retroactively her French is getting confused with her Spanish because she learned the Spanish after she learned the French, and now it's making it difficult for her to pull the right information for her French exam. So those are the two examples that tend to work real well for me. I hope they work well for you. If not, dig around for examples. All right, and here we have basically when you sleep. This is just a chart explaining that what's shown is study, and then if you sleep, you have less information coming into your brain after a study session, and so you have less of a chance of any type of interference going on with making it difficult to recall that information. And so they show you here that they can retain more information several hours after sleeping versus staying awake. When do we forget? So here you can see, I have a little chart. You have sensory, short-term, long-term, and then retrieval. So in sensory, again, to reiterate, you have all kinds of information coming in, okay? The senses momentarily register amazing detail, right? Bam! A lot of it coming in, but it goes out quick. Short-term memory has a few items that are both noticed and encoded, so we have to pay some attention to some of these things. Long-term memory, you have some items are altered or lost. So as you're laying it down in a long-term memory, we have an ability to actually alter the memory. Not always in a like some kind of a plot manner or like some kind of a evil attempt to do that. We all do it unconsciously. So don't think of it as like a negative necessarily. It just is what it is. And then retrieval from long-term memory. Depending on interference, retrieval cues, moods, and motives. Some things get retrieved and some don't. Okay, over time. All right, now then we have motivated forgetting. People unknowingly revise history. We all do it again, and it's not some kind of a conspiracy. First example here is repression. This is from psychoanalytic theory, from Freud, the chapter on personality. Defense. It is a defense mechanism that banishes anxiety-arousing thoughts, feelings, and memories from consciousness. It is Freud's most basic defense mechanism, and it's just basically where you take these feelings that are disturbing to you, you don't want to deal with them right now, and you bury them. I like to use the extreme examples to make my point here of soldiers in battle who see their friends get blown up and, blown to bits, and they have to, one, for a survival technique, on the battlefield, you don't have time to really lose your mind over your friends dying. You have to bottle it up, and that becomes a very consistent way a lot of soldiers just deal with the pain of what happens in war. And they bottle up a lot of their emotions, and they repress them, and then they come back to civilization, and sometimes they can have these things bottled up for anywhere from a couple of weeks, months, years, decades. There is no one answer as to when does it come out. I kind of think of it like a volcano. You can push down on that magma that wants to come out for so long, and you can keep pushing down on it, but soon it's just going to get too much pressure, too hot, and it's going to explode. And it tends, it happens for everybody at different times. But that's why you might see somebody who years and years after a war finally has a breakdown. Okay. But sometimes during this repression, they can actually change what occurred in reality. And here's a better example with a car accident. So here it says eyewitnesses reconstruct memories when questioned. So depiction of actual accidents. So boom, here you have what appears to be two cars hitting each other, but not massively. If they are asked, eyewitnesses are asked to report what they saw, and leading questions are used about how fast the cars were going. If the words used were like, well, how fast were they going when they smashed into each other? Versus saying how fast were they going when they bumped into each other. Those that were asked about with the smashed word will actually report higher speeds in their minds. They'll say, well, smashed, they must have been going, I don't know, 60 miles an hour. Whereas bumped, they would immediately in their minds say, but if they bumped each other, they had to have been going, they're only going about 20 miles an hour. That's not an uncommon thing that happens. So eyewitness testimony in these situations is often very unreliable. And it's actually kind of laughable at times because people will swear things in court that didn't happen. And it's a very tricky business. All right. We filter information and fill in missing pieces all the time. We do it all the time, and it's because our brain can't possibly take in all the information going on everywhere all the time. It's a survival technique. As far as the best theory as to why this goes on is it helps us survive. Misinformation, we incorporate misleading information into one's memory of an event. We're just wrong. We don't put everything together, just like with the smashed or bumped example. Source amnesia. Attributing to the wrong source an event that we experienced, heard about, read about, or imagined. You don't know where it came from. You don't know why you know something, but you have the actual explicit knowledge, but you thought you got it from actually experiencing something, and when perhaps you only read about it in a magazine. Okay? That happens a lot. I think we all do that. Injustice does happen, and of course, when we're talking about memory construction, there are people who are innocently accused of crimes and shouldn't be. DNA testing more recently has the development of that technique has made it better. And then some guilty people do evade responsibility by casting doubt on their truth-telling accusers. If they can create a reasonable doubt, remember the term is reasonable doubt. They don't. if there's a reasonable doubt and you cannot create a memory construction for the jury that they see clearly what happened, they can't. A lot of juries are instructed, you can't convict somebody if it isn't clear. So that's what a defense team is often doing legally, is trying to cloud the issue, get it discombobulated that the jury is too confused to make a decision. Incest does happen. Okay, well, when we were talking in the book, it's talking about, do these kids actually have these things happen or not happen, and it gets very, very I don't know what the word is, sad, I guess, for families when parents are accused of incest when they haven't done anything, and that is not good for anybody. But sexual abuse can leave its victims predisposed to problems ranging from sexual dysfunction to depression. It does happen. The memories can be repressed for a period of time, and there is no one way to react to it. There is no survivor syndrome per se that they came up with a few years ago. So we have more. Forgetting. Forgetting isolated past events, both negative and positive, is part of everyday life. We all forget most of what goes on throughout the day. Recovering memories that we had previously not made connections with is also common. That's not unusual. We all do that. And hypnosis. When you recover something under hypnosis or with drugs, they are especially unreliable memories because the people are open to suggestions. And therapists have to be very careful. I don't think it's some evil plot or some kind of a conspiracy that the evil therapist was trying to plant these memories. It's just some therapists are using leading questions, or they used to, or if they're newer or they're not trained correctly, they can lead a patient down a path that never happened. And so then they can remember memories that actually aren't there. And remembering things before the age of 3 are incredibly unreliable. Most of us can't remember back that far. And so going into, I was 18 months old and, somebody touched me funny. Well, I changed a lot of diapers in my day. And, when your kid has poop all over them, you're wiping all over them and you're trying to get poop off of them and you're moving stuff around and this and that. And, that's not some kind of incest thing. That's trying to get your kid to not sit and poop. So how the kid will remember that they've been touched and some bad stuff comes, I don't know. I don't quite understand that. But for the most part, that's been found to be completely unreliable. All right, improving your memory. We're finishing here. I've kind of hit on some of this stuff. It's not too long a section in the chapter, but study repeatedly. I call it wave theory. Try several waves. Don't just study once in one big giant session. Spend more time rehearsing or actively thinking about the material, trying to figure out how it connects to one another, okay, all the pieces. Make it personally meaningful to you. Again, I know you don't sit down with a lot of these things and go, oh, it means so much to me. This is so deep. But you have to come up with a way to make it meaningful to you. And again, with that TED Talks video, make it outlandish, crazy, funny, raunchy. That will be meaningful to you because the funny stuff is memorable to us. Mnemonic devices, okay? You got peg words, you got chunking, you've got acronyms, you've got all these ways to help yourself remember key information that is sort of in bulk. And our last slide. Use retrieval cues. Mentally recreate situation and mood. You can, ideally the best place to study for a test is exactly where you would take the test and the exact mood you would take the test. Not realistic, but don't think, it is not a good idea to study drunk and then try to take a test drunk. I can guarantee you that won't go well. Okay, especially in high school. Bad idea. Don't do that. Minimize interference. Test your own knowledge. Okay, minimize interference. Oh, sorry, I jumped ahead. Don't have a bunch of distractions. I know for me, I am a linear thinker. I gotta have quiet. I can't have music. I can't have people knocking on the door. I can't hear things outside my door. When I go to study, I gotta be alone. And if that's the way it is for you, it just is the way it is. Test your own knowledge. Okay. And then, of course, try to see what you can know without even like looking at your notes. Rehearse it, determine what you know and what you don't know. Write it down on a separate sheet of paper. Go back over it again. Okay? And that was the end of this whole chapter. And I hope you enjoyed it. And good luck.